Okay, so this week we're following up on the David Dobrik story that we brought to you about 2 weeks ago. It's this story has kind of just been unraveling since we first brought it up, and so we thought it was extremely important to kind of follow up on it. So to recap, in case you didn't watch our last episode, which we will also link above here, but to recap, Insider published an investigation into an allegation of sexual assault against a former member of David's vlog squad, Dirt Dom. The woman who is anonymous in the article says that she was too intoxicated to give consent to Dom, and there's a video of the incident that night that was posted a few days after on David's channel titled "She Shouldn't Have Played with Fire." So, like I said before, the video was published a few days after the incident and got about 5 million views on David's YouTube channel and was later taken down at her request. I mean, it was taken down, which is great, but it still happened and it still got 5 million views, which is very unfortunate to say the
Right.
least. So when the allegations came out, David released a video titled "Let's Talk" that was about 2 minutes long, and it was posted on his podcast, on his Views podcast YouTube channel. And in the video, David apologized for content he published in the past and also explained why he doesn't talk to certain members or doesn't really feature certain people in his vlogs anymore.
That being said, consent is something that's super, super important to me. Whether I'm shooting with a friend or shooting with a stranger, I always make sure that whatever the video I'm putting out, I have the approval from that person. And I also acknowledge that there's times where a person can change their mind and they decide that they no longer want to be associated, they no longer want to be in the video that I'm putting up, and then I'll take the video down. And there's also been moments where I've looked back on videos and I realize that these don't represent me anymore and they're hurtful to other people, and I don't want them up because I've grown, as a content creator and as a person, and I don't agree with some of the videos I've posted. With the Seth situation, I'm sorry to Seth because like I said, I would just want to make videos where everybody in it, whether you're participating or watching, is enjoying and having a good time. And I missed the mark with that one. And I'm really sorry. I truly, truly am. And with people in my life that I don't film with anymore, like Dom and, the other people that I no longer film with, I chose to distance myself because I don't align with some of the actions, and I don't stand for any kind of misconduct, and I've been really disappointed by some of my friends, and for that reason I've separated from a lot of them.
So David got a lot of hate for how brief the video was. I mean, we talked about this in our last video, but it sounded very PR, very scripted. It didn't sound very genuine, and it was very, I guess, lack of better words, to the point.
Right.
And these are very serious allegations. So I think people in his community, fans, or just the public in general, wanted a more genuine, heartfelt apology, and I feel like they didn't really get that the first go around. So days later, David Dobrik posted another YouTube video on his actual David Dobrik YouTube page. And in the video, he says he realizes how bad his previous video was and apologized again to the woman who says she was sexually assaulted by Dom at a party. And he also talks about what he wants to do moving forward.
I've put myself in a lot of situations where I've needed to apologize for my past actions, and I've never done this correctly, and I've never done this respectfully, and my last video is a testament to that. I don't want to defend that video. I don't want to delete that video. I just want to be clear. What this video isn't going to be is it's not going to be me discrediting Trisha, Kat, or any other woman involved. I'm going to be using words that may trigger some survivors, and that's just so I don't explain anything vaguely, and I can explain every situation appropriately. I want to start this video off by saying I fully believe the woman who came out against Dom and said she was assaulted by him. As it was reported, the next day I got consent to post the video. Even though I got the consent to post that video, I should have never posted it. And what I understand now, and I didn't understand before, is that she sent that text because she felt like she had to, not because she wanted to. And that's fucked up. And I'm sorry. When she later reached out a couple months later to take the video down, I immediately took it down. And I want to apologize to her and her friends for ever putting them in an environment that I enabled that made them feel like their safety and values were compromised. I'm so sorry. I was completely disconnected from the fact that when people were invited to film videos with us, especially videos that relied on shock for views or whatever it was, that I was creating an unfair power dynamic. I did not know this before. It was completely wrong, and I wish I was more responsible, and I wish I was more aware at the time, and I'm so sorry I missed that. Not only did I discredit you, Allie, but I platformed Dom. And not only did I platform Dom, but I platformed the subject of sex in a negative way where I made jokes about it and I reinforced that kind of behavior. And I'm so sorry. And I really let not only you down, but a lot of people down, a lot of people that watch me and my friends and family for that.
In his second apology video, David also said he is taking a break from social media and is working to put out a system or to put a system in place to allow people to speak up when they're feeling uncomfortable with what is going on.
At all. And I think when there is a crisis, there's a serious opportunity to correct yourself, to learn and improve, and to make sure those mistakes don't happen again. And that's why it is so important to hold yourself accountable. And I think with this situation, there's a lot I can look at and there's a lot I can learn from, but there's a lot of mistakes that I made. And I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for everybody I've let down. I'm sorry to my family, and I'm sorry to my friends that I've embarrassed, and that this won't happen again. I'm gonna take a short break from all the social media stuff because I realize there's a serious lack of infrastructure when I make any kind of content. And I wanna be able to have a place of checks and balances. I wanna have HR, and I wanna be able to have people communicate discomfort in a way that's comfortable to them, and where they don't feel like their emotions or what they're doing or how they're acting is compromised.
It's also important to note that another former Vlog Squad member, Seth, has also come out and said that David did not have consent for a prank where Jason Nash kissed him in the mouth. David addressed this and, said that he apologized to Seth in his first apology video, and another Vlog Squad member said that Seth had previously given consent, and they have text messages to prove it. But I think it's important to note that you can give consent and take it back. And David says that he has removed those videos, which at least that's the least he could do, right? But I think it's important that I think consent is very serious and it should be taken very seriously. And you also have to think about the big picture of just the situation that Seth or anyone could have been in. I mean, when you're in a situation where you could give consent because you feel pressured, because you don't want to seem like the downer, you could be like, yeah, I guess like I feel uncomfortable, but I'm gonna get so much clout. But then that's still, it's like he's not really not giving consent, like it's like it really needs to come from like you actually wanting to do something, not because you're feeling pressured or because the situation's weird. I'm not saying that he was pressured to do it, but it's just like a hypothetical situation, right? So since all of these allegations came out around David Dobrik's videos, his digital empire has pretty much come crumbling down, to be quite honest with you. Several brands, including SeatGeek, DoorDash, EA Sports, have cut ties with him. He stepped down from the board of Dispo, which is an app he just launched about a month ago. That's basically a disposable camera. You take pictures, and the pictures, it's like a disposable camera type of thing. So you don't see the pictures right away. You see them like at 9 a.m. the following day. And also, YouTube demonetized all three of his YouTube channels. David Dobrik 2, and his Views YouTube channel. They demonetized them for violating their creator responsibility policy. So, I mean, David's pretty much has lost everything, and a lot of brands have cut not only their deals with him, but with other people in the Vlog Squad. I think almost everyone associated with that video, with Dirt Dom and the girl, has apologized or come out with some sort of statement. There's a lot to unpack here, but first I want to ask you, Alex. So David has apologized twice now. What now? Like, what can the YouTube community learn from this situation?
You know what? It's interesting. So I've been following it really closely, and I'm not saying I support these people in any way, but I've been listening to Trisha Paytas and Ethan Klein's podcast, Frenemies, kind of where they break down everything that's happened. They spoke to different people. And it's just one of those, it's just like, this is the problem, I think, with YouTube culture. And we'll get into it later too, because we're going to be talking about another YouTuber, James Charles. But I think, I mean, even Trisha Paytas too, like all these people are able to create whatever they want and they're able to sensationalize things because they're doing it for views. It's not like a, I mean, I guess any entertainment entity you could say the same, but it's like they have full creative control. Like they're doing what they are doing for the views. And I think, I mean,
There's
even
not
thinking of,
necessarily an HR team either.
right, exactly. And I even think about like the situation with Seth and how you were talking about the consent. And it's like they were talking about in the Frenemies podcast how Seth had actually asked them originally, hey, can you take this down? And they said, David was like, whoa, wait, how much can I pay you to keep it up? And it's like, well, that's not consent. Like, that's literally not it. And so I think the thing is, and then David's first apology video, that was the short one, the let's talk, and he disabled the comments, by the way. Like, it's just like that he did that short apology and then he lost all these sponsors and now he did the longer apology where he like cried on the floor and like did that typical YouTuber apology. And I think it's frustrating because he's very reactive rather than being proactive. I mean, first of all, he put this awful content out there, but instead of like deleting it before and deleting it when Seth first said he was uncomfortable and all this stuff, he's keeping it up until it like negatively affects him and until he has to take action. And I think that's the problem, right? I think it's silly to say no one's allowed to make mistakes. I think people can, but it's like clearly he's not learning it from it. He's only learning from it because there's this reaction towards it. So I think that's really what's frustrating to see. And while I do think his second apology, the longer one, was by apology standards a good apology, it also did not address the Seth situation. It only addressed the Hannah situation with Dirty Dom. And it didn't really address like the other friends, because then we're seeing other people part of the vlog squad come out about different allegations. I mean, he didn't really apologize to Trisha Paytas and kind of what he did to her, which was she ended up being in a 5150 hold and because of like what was happening in a drug overdose. And like it was just like it's a whole like it's just, and there's other friends who have come out like about other things they've had to do. I mean, someone like Tana was like repeatedly kind of told like sexual innuendos from Jason Nash and like different, there's just so it seems like almost everyone has some sort of story. And I don't know, it's like gross. It's gross because David Dobrik like was doing this whole like non-bullying platform, like the tour he was doing or whatever, and he was promoting
Ironically.
like non-bullying. But it's so ironic. It's like, well, this is your whole brand and it's been this way the whole time. And like even like the thing is like David Dobrik knew for go I'm like going in circles and all over the place, but Dirty Dom, like he literally talked about how there's another video clip of him talking to, I forget who, someone in the vlog squad or someone else maybe, and he was saying like, oh, did you like hook up with Dirty Dom or whatever? And she's like, well, yeah, the alcohol, like I did because of the alcohol, like that's the only reason why I consented. And it's like he talks about in another video how like no one really consents to like having sex with Dirty Dom. And it's like, so you knew this whole time and yet you still, it's just,
Yeah.
it's like sick, it's like gross in so many ways.
Yeah. I think, I feel like you brought up a lot of great points, and I kind of want to expand and talk about a couple of them. I think, first of all, when all these allegations came out, I wasn't surprised they came out, but I was surprised it took so long for them to come out because I think David's YouTube channel has evolved and changed a lot throughout the years. And I do think it's changed for the better the past like year that he was doing his vlogs, or year and a half or something. He stopped doing as much of those crazy partying pranks and focused more on like giving back or like science experiments or like celebrity, like other stuff. His earlier vlogs, though, up until like a year and a half or 2 years ago though were very problematic. And I remember when I first started like hearing about David Dobrik and like watching his vlogs, I was like, how are these kids getting away with doing some of this stuff? Like you said, there were a lot of times where they made fun of Jonah because they make fun of Jonah because he's fat. It's like an ongoing joke, and like even if you're in on it, like it's still rude. And the Dom stuff, like you're totally right. There are videos of Dom was saying like, yeah, it's because she was drunk, like she hooked up with me, or like just like making excuses, and it's like that's not okay, and that shouldn't be accepted. And I think David and his crew, uh, they created an atmosphere where they had authority, whether they believed it or saw themselves as having authority or not. That's what it is. Like, David became this huge kind of, I don't know if pioneer is the right word, but he really did shape YouTube. His content was so successful, other YouTubers tried to replicate it, and everybody wanted to work with him at some point. Like, he had power. And so I think at the end of the day, when you have power and you have an environment where you're partying all the time or you're letting things slide, that's not acceptable, because then when you have somebody new coming in and stepping into that environment, they're going to feel pressure to perform or to do something crazy to make it into the vlog or for the clickbait or something, or they're going to feel like they don't want to be a Debbie Downer and say no, and just, or sometimes things get out of control, and then next thing you know, you get sexually assaulted and you're like, what the hell just happened? I'm in a video now what I didn't consent to. And so I think it's unacceptable that he created an environment where everyone involved in the vlogs created an environment where something like this was going to go down. I think it's I think YouTube creators need to learn that there's kids that are watching your content, kids that are like 10, 13 years old, that are watching Dirty Dom and thinking that's acceptable, and that's not acceptable. And there's people who are survivors of rape and sexual assault watching this, and it could be triggering to them. And I think moving forward, the YouTube community needs to learn that they need to be held accountable for their actions, and that they can't just do everything for the clickbait, you know? And hopefully they learn, because I think David for a while seemed untouchable. Clearly he's not. He's lost a lot. Um, my kind of last point before we pivot to our next topic, which has something to do as well with the YouTube community. What do you think will happen to David Dobrik? Do you think he's going to be canceled? Because I think we both kind of have mentioned how we don't really think cancel culture exists. I do think it's good that he said he wants to create like an HR department, or put a system in place where like it's kind of like a buffer or somewhere so that people feel comfortable speaking out. I think that's a good first step. I think obviously it should have been in place a really long time ago. And at the end of the day, I think it's up to the people, the victims of this, to accept David's apology. I think when people come out with apology videos or any statements, like, no one's going to be happy with what they say. People are always going to tear it apart and say he could have done this better. I mean, the first one he could have done better. The second one was better. But I think at the end of the day, it's really up to the victims to accept his apology, and it's up to society to hold them accountable, and hold them accountable to them saying they're going to grow, so that this doesn't happen again. I do think David will come back in like 2 or 3 years. I don't think he's going to be able to come back for a while, but I don't think he'll be able to come back unless he really changes, like a drastic change, and it's like genuine, because I think people are going to see if it's bullshit.
Definitely.
What do you think?
And you know what? I like that point you said, that like the people who need to accept apologies are or not need, the people who like the apologies are for are the victims. I think oftentimes, and we talk about this and you mentioned this, cancel culture really doesn't exist. It doesn't. Like people truly do not get canceled. Like there's no one that has done a horrible action and genuinely been completely deplatformed. Like everyone has been able to come back thus far. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's completely uncancelable. And I think the thing is about apologies is that people are accepting them, even though it's not their apology to accept. So he's still going to constantly have this fan base that no matter what he does, they're going to be there for him. I mean, listen, and we talk about this too. I don't think anyone, it doesn't exist, but I don't think anyone should be truly canceled. Like I don't think it exists, and I don't think it should exist. I think accountability should exist. And the thing is with David Dobrik is he's
Exactly.
literally, yeah, he's built this platform, um and his platform was built off doing actions like this, and off bullying, and off putting people in horrible unconsenting situations. And I don't think he should be able to have monetized his business and become this name in the way he has, due to the fact that everything he has is because of those actions he's taken. So I completely think his platform needs to be taken away, at least for a bit. I do think he'll be able to come back, and I think he will come back. I don't know what that'll look like, but like you said, his content has been changing in the past year and a half, 2 years, and I think he'll be able to come back, and I hope it's in a responsible way, and I hope it's in a way that continues to address these things, and I hope it's in a way that makes the victims feel comfortable too.